Hello, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Friends of Mine podcast, number 4.
Number 4.
Mad, isn't it?
I don't think we'd make it past number 1 to
Hold on, you had a go at me when I said that. So, how are you? How's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad. I think I've had I think we spoke on WhatsApp, start of the week or middle of the week, had a sort of bad week in terms of like my mental health, not feeling particularly great, but I do think that sort of entails of it getting colder, getting darker in the mornings. I think it sort of comes sort of hand in hand with it. But then so far it's been quite a nice weekend. We were out Friday night.
We did.
When I watched a band, and then yesterday when I watched High and Play, so which was nice. I need to give Jeff, Ben and Ebo, also known as Goals, a shout out, because I said I would, because they listened to all of them, so I had to give them a shout out. And then just watched that joke of a boxing event last night.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, was it?
But this time next year it could be Wayne against KSI.
You never know.
And
I'd win, I think, after that. I won't be hugging him the whole time.
I could be a ring girl. And,
we'll do a tag team.
Yeah. What about yourself? Good week?
Yeah, it's been alright. I feel a little bit like the same as you. I think the cold weather, it has an effect. Like, I used to feel like I suffered from that seasonal affective disorder, but I think sometimes as well, it's just like a really nostalgic time to me. Do you know what I mean? It just feels it just takes me back in my head into the past quite a bit in winter time. I've no idea why. I just find that I think about friends and family and that a lot more at winter time. I suppose, like you say, it's because it's obviously near and on the end of the year. You start thinking, what have I done with the year? And thinking about family time and Christmas, and so I think quite a bit of that really, about the same as you.
Yeah, I think it's like scary just how quick this year it's just disappearing. Like, it doesn't feel like yesterday we were, it was Christmas, and all of a sudden we're now halfway through October. So yeah, I think it's just disappearing, and I think just time just disappears, don't it?
Yeah, it's been a really weird year as well, hasn't it? It's felt, I don't know if you've had that vibe. It's just felt like quite a strange year, 2023.
The year's just sort of, for me personally, just rolled into one. I think with like the wedding, and then obviously they were like to find out Jay was pregnant. Like, it feels like it was only yesterday. I was like, 200 days to the wedding. That's loads of time, and then stag dude, and that's been and gone, the wedding's been and gone, and then all of a sudden it's like, shit, it's nearly Christmas again, and I love Christmas. Yes, I'm a bit like Buddy from Elf. So in actual, I do struggle with the dark and the cold. I do like Christmas. I just like having an excuse to being around all my friends and my family, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. Do you it's segueing a bit into what we said we were going to talk about childhood and stuff, but I guess you find as well that as you get older, the years seem to go a lot quicker.
Yeah,
it is really scary. I was thinking about that earlier. Like the last 5 years to me have absolutely flew by. Literally, it feels like it's gone by in a split second.
It's just when you realise that other people think you're old. I was so I went to watch Hartem yesterday, and I was warming up the goalkeeper. And he asked, like, how are you? I said, I went out, like, last night with my mate. I said, I felt a bit rough this morning. I didn't really drink that much Friday. And he goes, does it get harder as you get older? And I thought, cheeky bastard. I'm only 31.
But yes.
But yeah, I know it does, yeah. Like
100% it does.
Yeah, like that. But yeah, that cut deep, I'm not going to lie. I'm like, cut deep.
I bet, yeah. No, it's just crazy. I don't know. It's crazy. It just seems to absolutely fly by as you get older, and then obviously, especially when you get sort of my age, mid-30s, you start to really sort of think, do you know what? Yeah. I'm going to be approaching old age soon.
Yeah, it does.
There's people listening to this in their 50s, 60s going, what are you on about it?
Yeah.
But,
I just think it's, I say the years just rattled by. It just, quicker than I care to think, really.
Yeah.
But no, looking forward to. I think at the start of this year, it was I sort of wrote out a list of like this year I'm gonna read one book a month, in January I read a book, and I don't think I've read one since. I'm going to get a new job. That's not happened. And there was something else that I might even have it actually still.
Oh, you should find it. You should try and find it, man.
On my, it would have been right at the start of the year.
Thing is, everybody does that, don't they? I do it all the time. Like, I don't even just do it like New Year's. I like constantly leave notes for myself. Like, make sure you do this in the next month or two. Make sure you start doing this.
I don't think I've got it.
Ah.
But no, I had all this. Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, and then. Yeah, I haven't done anything I wanted to achieve. So
I find it so weird. Like, we always do it at the New Year, don't we? The New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's something that I think even if you don't like write it down and really go into it, you all still always think this is going to be the year I'm going to do this. And again, it goes back to what we've said plenty of times on the podcast about like always thinking you're going to get somewhere. It's like you're never just happy where you are. It's like you need to get somewhere. And
I think that's sort of what I've tried to do. I said this week, just been mentally like a shit week, not been feeling myself, and almost, like we said in the last podcast, that overthinking, like thinking that people have got an issue with me when they haven't. I generally just think that comes down to what you touched on last week, which like lack of sleep and just lack of. Because I've worked up until Friday, it was like 13 days on the spin, and by the end of the week I was just fed up and grouchy, and I don't think that helps. But now I've had the weekend just to sort of, catch up on a bit of sleep and do stuff that I enjoy rather than being at work. I feel almost
refreshed, rejuvenated,
ready for another wonderful week for the company I work for, because I love my job.
Good. I have a feeling you know the people from your job will start listening to this. It sounds a bit different than that.
I love the company I work for.
But yeah, we discussed that we were maybe going to start talking about like why, like roughly when we think, how can I phrase this? Not that our mental health deteriorated. I think that's the wrong way to look at it, because I think sometimes you're almost sort of born with a lot of this. But what period do you feel like it really took a turn for the worse? I'm not sure we've really touched on this in much detail before. Do you know roughly when yours was? Was it around the time of your mum passing, do you think? Or do you feel like there was...
I don't... I'll be... Yeah, probably. I mean, that would probably be the...
Understandably.
The main bit. I think I've always been quite... like insecure and quite... I wear my heart on my sleeve. I think, I'm very emotional friend. I think I've always been like that. But yeah, I think that if I was to pinpoint it from sort of one moment, then yeah, that would be where it started. But even then, not that I ignored it, because I was only 10, but it probably wasn't until I got with Jo, so nearly 10 years ago, that she sort of said to me, you need to go and see someone, but you need to go and see someone or speak to someone, because emotions, my temper usually was awful, and yeah, so I suppose that was where it all started, going back to it. And I never really addressed it. I tried counselling a couple of times before I got with Jo, but sort of went for one session and then thought, this is shit, I'm paying someone to make me feel worse than when I went in there. So yeah, if I'd have put it, it would probably be then. There was, I think it's changed. I think where it was, I can talk about my mum now, from when we first became friends. I could even mention her without crying, where I can have a conversation now and, 9 times out of 10, unless I've had a drink, I hold it together. But I think in other ways I've almost got worse. I think my overthinking has probably got worse in the last, 2 years. It's probably got worse rather than better. Which...
Do you feel like there was a sort of turning point for that, like a reason that happened, a catalyst to that, or do you think it's sometimes hard to tell?
I'm just my own worst enemy, and I've done it quite a bit this week as well with, it's like WhatsApping people and them not replying, and then me straight away thinking like, they've got an issue with me and there's a problem. And even like I say, going to the football yesterday, there was a couple of people who I turned up and they were doing a warm up, so they didn't come straight over. And but also then I'm like, what's their problem? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and almost that having to reassure myself, like, you all right, mate? Like,
Yeah.
Okay, okay. What about you? What was?
So I think I was always a bit of a, like, in terms of like realizing that okay, I'm not wasn't the happiest child considering how I should have been, I guess is the way to put it. Because obviously I had a good upbringing. I really did. I had like a lot of friends. Back then there wasn't I was allowed to go out quite a bit. Do you know what I mean? It's not like nowadays where a lot of parents are scared. Like, rightfully so. I mean, whether the crime rate has actually gone up or down, whatever, you can discuss that. In some ways, it's a lot safer nowadays in theory. But in general, there's like a lot more fear around. But back then, I was out all the time with friends. I had a good family life. But I always just felt I always thought about stuff a bit too much. I always remember, do you know what I mean, where most of my friends could let stuff go. I'd sort of go home, think about stuff, get all down on myself and be, just have this I don't know, almost like a massive list of things that happened when I was out playing that I wanted to try and think about. Why did this happen? Why did this person say this to me? Why didn't this person want to play with me for too long? Why did they go home? It's really weird stuff. So I think that's a little bit where my overthinking and maybe a bit of the sort of being down came in. And then I think one of the biggest things for me in terms of anxiety and overthinking, just something I haven't massively spoke about before. I have to friends and stuff, but and to new people I've met. But when I started basically having massive panic attacks around the age of, I'm really rubbish with ages and years, but I think it would have been around between the age of 18, 21, sort of last year's my teenage years. And that was caused, which might be a surprise to some people that don't know me very well, by the fact that I used to do quite a lot of substances back in the day that I shouldn't have done. I got into it when I was going through a bit of a rough patch with a girl at the time, and one of my friends or ex-friends sort of slipped something in my drink, and then
nice.
I confronted them about it when I saw it, but at the end of the day I was feeling so shit, I just thought, sod it, I'm going to do it. And that coincided with me also taking a lot of prescription painkillers that I genuinely needed at the time, and I started to take a little bit too much of them, and the two combined sort of made me start feeling good. It made me forget about a lot of the crap that was going on, and from there I went about 2 odd years just pretty much abusing everything I could get my hands on, really. I would never say I had a physical addiction to them, if that makes sense. I could, if someone said, right, you can be locked in a room for 2 weeks without them, I would have survived. But when I had nothing to do, when I wasn't really doing much, it'd just be I'm going to go and do this. A lot of them were legal highs, but I was kind of just doing whatever my friends had at the time, whatever I was offered. It was quite bad, and like I say, none of my family knew about it and still don't, so it'd be quite a massive shock, I think, if anyone.
I hope they're not driving when they listen to this.
Well, it's, that's the thing though, it's I think it's because I went through it myself. I don't ever look at people that have addictions to anything with any sort of judgment anymore, because I get it. Like I say, I don't ever think I was physically addicted, but the mental addiction and just being so, just wanting the pain and thinking to stop so much, and then you find something that does it, of course you're just going to want to keep taking it, and it's a slippery slope. But eventually I so sorry, yes, I was saying I never really judge people about it, but at the same time I would absolutely hate my family to hear this and judge me for it, because they think that all the mental disorders and all the shit I had going on after that was nothing to do with that. They thought it just kind of happened to me, if you know what I mean.
That's brave of you to come out on and to drop it. Obviously I know we spoke about it before you were going to come on, and you were unsure whether or not you were going to actually come on and to say that. I mean, do you think it helped in a positive way, but also in a negative way as well? So were the highs, I don't know, were the highs really high and then the lows really low?
Yeah, and the thing is as well, when it's not even necessarily that the lows are low, but when you get that high, you just constantly want to be back up there. So it's not like going up a ladder and then falling off a cliff. It's just like you go up the ladder and then when you're back on level ground, you're like, I want that again. It makes me feel it's so hard to explain, I suppose, to people that have like never done it. Obviously people that have got high even on like weed and stuff have the same effect or whatever, but people that have like never done anything like that at all, it's kind of hard to explain. But I suppose it's similar to why people use alcohol. It just for a while it just makes you stop and think and feel good.
I was just about to touch on that. I mean, I'm quite, we've been quite open in chatting, and it's probably only been sort of the last 2 or 3 months that I sort of realised that I've probably got a sort of an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, where I can't, and I have been better and I've done it, recently gone out and had one, but I couldn't ever go out, have one, and then that's it, or have 2 and that's it. We've been down spoons or at friends' parties or whatever else, and I can't just go have a couple of drinks, have a laugh and go home. It was going to just get hammered. Yeah. Whether that's 6 of us sat in the living room or 4 of us down spoons or whatever it was. And that's probably only been very recently where I sort of, whenever I drink, I wake up really early in the morning, which I thought would always be the opposite, but I don't. I always wake up like really early hours in the morning, almost feeling like and I don't touch it, but almost feeling like I've done a line of coke and I'm buzzing and I feel like I could go run a marathon. Yeah. But then there's also that bit of, oh my God, what did I say last night? What did I do? The first thing you do is check your phone to make sure you didn't talk any bullshit or message any bullshit. Yeah. And then I think that's something that I've realised recently is almost drinking just to forget about what you're worrying about, but it doesn't. So for them 2 hours when I'm with my mates and I'm drinking and I'm pissed and I'm having a laugh, it's brilliant. But the next morning, I mean, fuck me, I've messaged you saying, and I call it anxiety, and it gets worse. So I'm now just trying to be sensible. We went out Friday, I had 4, maybe, and then went home. Whereas even 2 months ago, I'd have been 10 pints.
Yeah, and it's bad, like you say. The thing is, it never works. No. That's the thing. Like all these things that we do, like that, to try and make ourselves forget about everything or like stop the overthinking, it never works. Mm-hmm. It might like numb it for a little while, and I do think it does at the time. But like you say, as soon as you're not addressing the issue, that's the thing. You're not addressing it. That's what I found. And mine, finishing off from what I was saying before, I don't think I actually mentioned it, but when I was doing all those substances, it got to quite a bad place, and eventually I remember we were at Billing Aquadrome camping, and I took so much stuff, and then one of my friends was like spraying some aerosol on a car, and I've always had a little bit of health anxiety, like you could call me a hypochondriac, because when I was younger I used to just like read medical books, and like then if I got like a bruise I'd be like, oh my God, like having too many bruises is a symptom of this, like but this one time, like my friend was spraying some aerosol, and I just remember it making my asthma feel a bit funny. And then because I was so absolutely off my head, I had like the world's biggest panic attack. But at the time, I actually thought I was like dying of like an asthma attack or something. Yeah. Even though in reality, like I'm shouting and stuff. So anyone that's had an asthma attack knows that the last thing you're doing it. And I got my friend to take me to the hospital, or to Key Doc at the time, and and they just said you're having a panic attack, sent me home. But then I never believed it, and I suffered from panic attacks for 3 years, and I was having 2 or 3 a day where I thought I was dying, like genuinely thought I was dying 2 or 3 times a day of just various stuff, like whatever it was. If at the time I felt dizzy, it'd be like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. It's all just stemmed from this. And then anyone that suffered from panic attack disorder will know, but it's just such a vicious cycle because it's so hard to break it. I eventually did through some of the methods like I've mentioned before, like and also a couple of like dramatic things happened in my life somehow reversed it. You would have thought it'd make it worse, but actually somehow reversed it. I suppose gave me something else to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, I did the substances to try to forget about things and stop overthinking. That actually caused me to have panic attack disorder, which thankfully I'm down to like, I maybe have one mild one every 6 months that I can like, and I can control it a lot better. I can sort of tell myself, if you really think you're dying, go hospital. If not, just sit with this chest pain. Do you know what I mean? Where before any chest pain or anything, I'd be like, I'm having a heart attack. Yeah. I phoned for an ambulance a few times. Luckily, they never came out because they knew what was going on. But
it's scary. It is. I mean, I suffer. I mean, especially sort of last year with real bad panic attacks. When I was doing the manager's role at work, and it's a lot of pressure, and I just think I realised that maybe I'm not cut out for that sort of pressure, but it caused me, to have the panic attacks. And yeah, I know what it's like, because it's awful, because you wake up, and mine were, like you said, the shortness of breath constantly, the chest pains, and then even feeling like you're going to be sick. Do you know what I mean? Like almost dry. Don't go into too much detail, but that sort of like you need to be sick. So yeah, I mean, I've had panic attacks as well, and they're horrible. And it's just learning. With CBT, they give you coping mechanisms, so I can control them better now, and I can almost feel when they're coming, but I still do. Like a tight knot in the centre of your chest. But going back to what you were saying about with the substances and it giving you that high, again, very similar to, almost when I know a few people who are gambling addicts, and they say it's the same thing. And I know from winning, I do accumulate on a Saturday, normally 5-10 quid, nothing drastic, nothing compared to what it could be. But they say it's that high. The worst thing they've ever done was win that first bet, because they get that high of winning, even if it's only 200 quid, but say winning £1,000, and then they say it's permanently trying to chase that high again, and that's why I've got a limit on, on my betting account. I've got a limit, so I can only do, I think it's 40 quid a month I can do. And then, which is, you need it there, because sometimes you can find yourself chasing it, and, I done it, especially during COVID, when I wasn't playing football, there's football on TV, you put a bet on, and at half time the bet is all dead, so you put another bet on, and then you put a bet on the Sunday, and then before you realise that you've done like 100 quid on a Saturday afternoon, sat at home. And I know from speaking to friends who had their issues with it, they said it's a little bit like you said, it's the chasing the high all the time.
Yeah, and the thing is as well is I don't think people realise but how much of that goes on in their heads and in their lives in general. Like people, if you say, I don't know, I imagine maybe the title of this podcast might end up being addiction or something if we touch on enough. But let's just say people look at the title of this podcast and see addiction. I imagine the first things they're going to think of are maybe the big three, so it would be drugs, alcohol, or gambling. But I don't think people realise like that same mechanism that drives people to want to do that, like it can manifest in ways that seem quite innocent, but it's really similar. Like food, like we were talking about last time, like people that just binge eat all the time. Like I have that issue. Like it's the same thing. You're chasing that good feeling, and even like things that seem really good for you. Like there's people out there that are addicted to running and addicted to going to the gym. Yeah, it's like they'll judge drug addicts massively, think they're the scum of the earth. And don't get me wrong, obviously the things people do are a bit different. Yeah. I don't think, people that are addicted to going to the gym aren't probably going to go out to rob a house to feed that. I get where some of the bias and prejudice comes from, but it's kind of driven by that same thing where you found something that takes your mind off it, makes you feel good, the high, and then you're just always still trying to chase it or trying to get that a bit more,
I think even like everyday life, I think I'd say you can class it an addiction, but I said about how I always need to be doing something, and I don't know whether or not that is trying to ignore I suppose, more what I'm feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but again, similar, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're chasing something to make you stop feeling it.
Yeah, even like, yesterday, all weekend I've not really stopped, just been, because when I stop and I sit down, that's when I overthink and I start worrying and start flicking through social media, which
can be a massive addiction.
Of course it can.
I 100% believe that. 100%.
I get a ping through sometimes on once a week, like your screen time last week, and sometimes it's outrageous. Some of the screen time that you have, you think, how have I had that much time? So I think there's all sorts of addictions. I think there is definitely a social media addiction. I think we are addicted to our phones. 99% of the population are addicted to phones.
100%. They reckon, I don't really properly know the science behind it, so I might be wrong here, but they reckon that every time your phone pings or vibrates or whatever, you do get a hit of dopamine. Yeah. So it's
which you can imagine,
makes you, anytime you have a hit of dopamine when you do something, because it's that reward centre in your brain, it reinforces you to want to do the habit. So it's quite scary, really, isn't it?
Have you found? So when was the last time you properly were using anything?
So in terms of what you mean, do you mean to get high or just did in general?
So when was the last time you used it to get high?
There was a period, because I feel like you might remember it, because I was quite bad when we went out for, I think it was a New Year's, do you remember? It was actually, this was the thing as well, I had the panic attacks and I got over them, but I still wasn't 100% careful with what I did. Do you know what I mean? There was a big period where after I got over the panic attacks, I was I'm not touching substances ever again. And I didn't, throughout the massive panic disorder, I didn't touch anything. Because they kept sending me to therapy thinking I was a drug addict. That's what pissed me off. I'd sit in a room with them and they'd be and I'd want to talk about my panic attacks, how to get over them. They'd be right, let's talk about how we're going to get off the... I said, I've stopped. Having 3 panic attacks a day makes you stop. Do you know what I mean? You don't want that. Or it did with me anyway. There's probably people out there that wouldn't. But there was a period quite after that where I started to be a bit stupid when the doctors would give me... It's difficult because when you go to doctors with a pain after you've been a bit silly with substances before, prescribed ones as well, it's very difficult. I suppose it's like an alcoholic being alcohol-free, sober for a couple of years, and then a doctor saying, well, the only way you can sort of get rid of this pain you've got is to have this alcohol. It's oh God, but don't have too much of it, only sips, you're going to be like shit. So there was a period where I started when I needed sleeping pills, when I was doing a bit too much of them. I was taking...
You think of the song that you...
Yeah, well, exactly. There's even a song made up about it because of...
How do we know at the time?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have, obviously...
Yeah, but and I was being stupid. Because, like I say, I remember there was one New Year's, I think we went SAS Club, I don't know if you remember it. Because I remember you bringing it up at the time, but I was absolutely out of it. But it was I didn't even really mean to that time, I think. I think we went out drinking and I hadn't realised that I took some of my pills.
Was that the night at the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
Yeah, when we were sat in, Mankin.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was that same night, yeah. I remember now. Yeah, didn't he throw muffins at us or something?
Blueberry muffins. So we were sat and went to go out on New Year's Eve, yeah. But
yeah, it's so I still wasn't careful. I still was being a bit of an idiot. So every time I was given I don't know, something like codeine or whatever, I'd do more than I should, basically, with the purpose of getting a bit high. I'd lie to myself and say it was to help with the pain, but I knew what I was doing. And the thing is, when you get prescribed stuff like that, you can get it again. So there's a few periods where I'd go to the doctor and say, I've got this going on, and eventually, I think because they knew about my past and saw how much I've gotten of some of it, they did eventually sort of say, we're going to stop giving you these. We'll give you some, milder ones. Have some paracetamol, which is very helpful. But so honestly, I think that was maybe around the last time, whenever that was. I'm not sure. I want to say maybe
years ago, wasn't it?
Maybe 7, 8
years
ago.
Is it ever that temptation when you were feeling...
you didn't even have to say it before I said 100%.
Because I say when you're feeling at your lowest and you just think, and it's a quick fix, isn't it?
100%. I think I'd be lying I think there's only two reasons that kind of have stopped me when I get to my lowest. Like even say like like we were talking about like I don't know like 3 weeks ago maybe I had some really really low days. I think if it wasn't for the fact that I don't want to have the panic attacks again, and I have a feeling that if I took something like that it'd just proper take me back and it'd just give me panic attacks again, and then it'll be a vicious cycle and I'll suffer with them for years again, and just being harder to get. Like back then I had friends and like I say I knew ways to get it, where now it'd be like I wouldn't know where to turn, and I mean that's good.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if I started to hang around with people that were into that type of thing again, who knows where I could be? Because I think when you get really low or really anxious, you just despair and you just want anything to make it stop. Anything, like it's so difficult.
I get it. I mean, I almost think as well. So I take 2 forms of medication at the moment. I can't remember either of the names. Metazapam, I think, is one that I'm on. And then I've recently been prescribed another one for my anxiety, so I take 2 at night. And I think almost in a way, not addicted to them, but I know when I've missed a couple of days, or because one thing I'm really bad at is taking the prescription down to get it. It only takes a day to turn it around, say, but I then will have 3 or 4 days rather than not taking them, and I can feel myself. And even to the stage where Joe will go to me, "You've not taken your medication, have you?" Which is a little bit scary in some ways as well, because I don't want to be reliant on this medication forever. I mean, I've been taking medication probably on and off for probably over 10 years. But more consistency, probably the last 18 months, has just been, without little bits here and there where I've forgotten, but I don't want to be reliant on that. And at the moment, I almost feel like I am reliant on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what. I know they always say not to go cold turkey, so they will sort of wind you off it. But it's quite scary to think, shit, I could well need this for forever. So yeah, I think,
do you really feel it helps? You feel like you're 100%. A lot better?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think I don't, and maybe some of it. Listen, it sounds stupid. Maybe some of it is in my head. Maybe if they just gave me a box that said metazapam and it was just Tic Tacs, and you're in your head thinking, "Oh, I'm taking this medication." So maybe some of it is in my head, but I do feel like I sleep better when I take what I'm taking. And then I've been taking, which is quite fun actually. So I opened up the drawer the other day and pulled what I thought my tablets were. And I realised that for the last 3 nights I've been taking Joe's anti-sickness tablets.
Have you really?
Not my ones for my anxiety, which probably explained last week why my anxiety was through the roof.
But I bet you didn't feel sick then.
No. I just said, what are these doing in my side? Not Joe's fault, with my side, but I'm saying you just leaning in, taking whatever's in there and taking them. So yeah, that was interesting.
It's a good job it's just them as well.
Well, yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't say addicted to them, but there is part of me that thinks at some point I've got to stop taking them and find, I suppose, another way to. Yeah, to just I just don't want to be reliant on them forever.
Maybe I don't know. I actually don't have massive amounts of experience with antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds. I have had them, but it's been so long I can't even remember. But maybe you could either speak to doctors about it and say or maybe try and do some non-medicinal things now while you're on them. Yeah. Start doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
To help. I mean, I suppose you are with the CBT and stuff, but
yeah. Because
I suppose that must be a bit scary.
Yeah, I think it's just I just don't want to just become reliant on them. The idea is by sort of this time, sort of next year, I'm not on any form of medication. But the first thing you do, and I get it, if I ring up the doctors and say, which I did do recently, like I'm struggling, they just up the dose, and I'm now on the highest dose that I can be on for this, and they're like, well, we'll just change what you're on. And I don't know what your experience is with medication, but I've been on everything. I've tried everything, and this is the only one that doesn't make me feel like I need to be sick or feel like...
I remember just making me feel like I wasn't myself when I used to do it, which I didn't like. It was like it was strange because I felt happier, but that it was not me that was experiencing happiness. That might sound really weird. It's kind of like I was watching myself be happier, but right deep down inside, I was still
the only way that I was on, I can't remember what medication it was, but it literally made me feel like I was smoking weed, like the first time I went to Amsterdam, where... I mean, you remember the first time we went to Amsterdam, and I thought it was literally like something in between. As I thought I was in this massive bubble, and my feet were on fire, and I then white-eyed and got carried back to the hotel room. But like that sort of initial, it almost feels like you're in this like protective bubble, and that's the only way that I could describe the first load of medication that I took. That's how it made me feel.
Yeah.
I'd take it and then would lay on the bed for an hour underneath the covers because made me feel so spaced out and drowsy, which, if you want, was great. But also, when you've got a job and you can't be doing that. But no, by this time next year, I want to be off all sorts of medication. But I've got to do something about my anxiety. My anxiety at the moment is actually worse than the depression side of things. And I know they come hand in hand, but my anxiety recently is just ridiculous, especially more the last week or two.
That's sad too.
But would you ever do it? Would you touch it again? Like if you're on a night out now, is there ever that temptation to go?
No, I really don't. I really don't think I would. I say the only times I've been tempted has been when I've been down, and I mean like really down, not just a bit, but when I've been like, oh my god, I need to get out of my head. I've been tempted, and maybe like I've done weed since quite. Now you've come to mention Amsterdam, it makes me think. I was saying earlier, when was the last time you did something to get high? But I know I'm so familiar with the feeling of being on cannabis that I can be really good. And to be fair, I've been Amsterdam 4 times now, and I think I only did weed on the first 2. So I've been twice without even touching it. Yeah. We were going to the last time I was there, like in June, when Dean met up for me. When I went on that trip, we were going to do something. We ended up not doing it, and I
could imagine Dean high on weed. I think we're quite lucky as well. Like with our friendship group, like none of us really.
That's true.
No, we don't. Unless we go to Amsterdam, like no one really touches it. I think that's probably a positive side of it as well.
Definitely, and I think that's the thing as well, is you have to be careful of stuff like that. It's like if you're an alcoholic, say, like it's going to do you no good whatsoever hang around people that massively drink.
Yeah.
Like if I had an issue of alcohol now, this is going to sound really bad to our friendship group actually, after you being positive, but like just being serious, like I think I'd have to have like a sit down conversation with everyone and be like, look, I'm not properly drinking. Like initially, obviously, because let's be fair, like we've got friends that don't drink at all, and I don't think people pressure them.
No,
but I think I think they were people who never like massively drank in the first place. I think when you, as somebody that like everyone knows that I like a drink. If I suddenly was like, yeah, I'm not having a drink for a couple of months, people might be like, what? And they'll be like, come out and get pissed. Yeah. So I'd have to have either just not hang around with anyone, or I'd have to have that sit down conversation, like support
right.
me, please, guys, because I want to do this.
Yeah, 100% right. Like I know that. Yeah, even like yesterday, going to watch Iron Play, went for a beer afterwards. If I sat down with a Coke or water. Or even on a Sunday, if I go and watch Super Sunday and I sat down with a Coke, the looks I would get was if I would just gone and pissed on someone. And it would be, what are you doing? Almost like I've offended them by not having a drink, which is just mad, really.
It is, but I don't think it's people being arseholes or whatever. Because I think it's just like, I don't know, drinking's a social thing, isn't it? It's such a social thing. Like, and you want everyone to have a good time. Like, if I'm ever saying to someone like, oh, come out and drink, it's like, it's never like you know, it's always like, I want you to have a good time. I think we'll have a better time if we're both drinking, even though chances are one person will just get absolutely hammered and the other one will just have to look after them. So actually,
we'll find that out in a couple of weeks.
When we're at the bottom. But you find that if two of you go out drinking, one's going to drink and be okay and the other one's going to be hammered.
We could do a bottomless brunch and maybe do a live podcast, and it could just be
we
us
could
just
do
crying
a quick,
at the end in TGIs.
We could do a little live stream just on the phones. I think it'd be funny.
I'm not sure how the person serving us would be if they came over and live streaming and we're both in tears.
We've done it before, haven't we? Oh, in tears, yeah, that'd be different.
I've completely lost my train of thought now, but yeah.
It's not meant to be a comedy podcast, come on.
But like drinking, like, yeah, I do feel, and I've got like a friend who until very recently, he just came out one night and said, I'm not drinking now, and he got, I wouldn't say grief, but that's not the right thing to say, but it would be, what do you mean you're not drinking? But you respect why, because he struggled with his mental health as well, and he went 9 months and didn't touch a drop, and he said it was the best thing that he ever done. His anxiety dropped, his mood swings weren't as bad, and I think there's definitely, of course there is, there's something behind it, and like you say, that almost chasing that high, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
About, you know, even on Friday, you know, I had 4 or 5 beers, but I felt almost more comfortable, do you know what I mean? I had a beer and I almost felt, and always more relaxed, which is sad as well, really, because I should just really just start on a Friday night like that, maybe just because I mean you were drinking Red Bull, but I suppose people are addicted to that as well, like caffeine. Like I know that
100%.
that we've got friends who drink like 5 or 6 cans of Monster a day.
And the thing is as well, like even I mean caffeine can be addictive, but even if it's not that, I think it's just like you can just be addicted to the habit, can't you? Do you know what I mean? It's like even if it was, I don't know, like Pepsi Max. But like you can have an addiction. I mean, I suppose that does have caffeine, but you know what I mean? It's just you get addicted to habits as well as stuff that just really makes you feel good. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, it's hard. I don't know. I just feel like, I genuinely feel like anything can be addictive.
Yeah. I think it's also as well, like going back to like alcohol, it's just a British culture.
True.
We are just a country of pissheads, let's be honest. Like we are. When I said to you on Friday when we were out, then people went and sat on the dance floor. I can't remember what the song was.
Oh yeah.
And I just said to you, like, only the British would go and sit on the pub floor on a 8:30 on a Friday to whatever the song was. But I think even that, like, I think I'm almost like addicted to being like around people and being busy, and that's again what we keep going back to is chasing that next thing. You know, even this week it will be, what am I doing during the week? You know, Monday I'm playing football, Wednesday potentially wings. You know, then Saturday this, Sunday this, like week out, and it's almost, if you look at my calendar, it's almost the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. I think even that's an addictive trait. Do you remember you touched on it last week or the week before about when, like with this, how you just mind was just obsessed about the podcast. Like, I get that. Like my thing is, I will obsess about something like that for like a few weeks, and I'll be over it, and then I'll be moved on to the next thing. Like not saying I'll be over this, and I want to do it, but the obsessive stage. Like I remember I did it a little while ago. I sat there and I thought, right, I want to like eventually get to the point where I can like do a job that I kind of want to do and maybe work for myself. So I started being like, right, I'm going to learn coding alongside like work or whatever. I'm just going to, hour or two every night, instead of scrolling on Facebook, I'm going to learn coding and stuff. And I was like obsessed with it. Like every minute of every day that I had spare, I was like learning to code. But it lasted about 3 weeks, and then I hit this, I just kind of move on something else. Like I don't consciously think of it, but I find it. I've done it before with learning languages. I'll be obsessed with learning a language. I did it with French. I think it did last about 3 months actually, where I was like spending hours a day outside, like after work, learning French. But then something just turns and I was saying as well. Like even with like, I for some reason turned around 3 or 4 weeks ago. I thought, I'm going to learn German. Don't know why. Just wake up one day and decided that I want to learn another language, and it lasted about a week, and then I just haven't bothered since. And then it's about, you know, I'm going to work loads of overtime and earn loads of extra money, and then that lasted about a week, and then it was the podcast, and the first week we were doing this, it was sharing stuff and inviting people and posting, blah, blah. And then again, I wouldn't say that I'm over it, but that sort of, I don't know how to describe it, takes a less important role, and then it's the next thing, and then it's just, rather than stuff that I should be focused on, like painting the nursery, which I just keep putting off. just keep, I'll do it next
But maybe
weekend.
that's what it is. Maybe like we do these things where we assess about other stuff to take away from the things that we should be doing. Both like literally should be doing, like physically, like you painting the nursery, but also like mentally. Like maybe like instead of me being like, right, I need to sit down and, or like you saying about how bad your anxiety is, like we both need to sit down, not necessarily together, but like, and think about why we feel anxious and maybe do something about it. Instead we're like, well, no, let's concentrate on learning German for a week, actually. Not, obviously, we don't think of it like that. It's subconscious, but we're like, anything to stop us thinking about the real work we've got to do. Either literal physical work.
And I do, I just run away from it. So whether or not it's, you know, me and Joe have had an argument and she wants to talk about it, I will just try and run away from it. Whether or not it's remortgaging, or we just remortgage, and it's, as probably as for everyone, it's fucking ridiculous now. But just ignore it. If I ignore it, it's not happening. You know, and shows that, well, we need to be, you know, we'll sort it out, and almost that if I run away, it's not. I know it's going to happen. You can't run away from it. It's going to happen, but just ignore it. Pretend it's not happening, and hopefully it will go away. It's not going to go away. And I think that's something that I know that I do. Even something at work, like, you know, again going back to when I was doing that the manager's role. You know, if I just ignore it and pretend it will go away, and it doesn't, and it always catches up with you.
Yeah.
Always catches up.
I think that's why, like, when you were saying before about me when I went to Europe, and you were saying, like, how you thought it was brave, and I said about it actually being me and running away, is that I genuinely think that's what it was. I think work was getting to a point where I was like, it was really stale. I'd been there, 13 years nearly. And I just got to a point in my life where I was just like, I really wanted to sort of run away. And I think that's why I felt so down when I come back, is because, and I didn't initially, I first come back feeling really good and refreshed, obviously, and felt like I'd done a lot of like inside work. But then eventually it hits you and you say like, right, I'm back from my trip for a month. I've spent shitloads of money that I've now got to make back. I haven't got a job, which I thought would be easy, you know. Anyone will take me on, but no, I was unemployed for what, like a month nearly, going on 2. And that's the thing as well, like I was thinking this when you were saying about the plans. Do you also find that I don't know if you're anything like me and you've been with your job a little while now, but like you sometimes make plans as well just so you've got something to look forward to after you've done crap
100%,
stuff.
100%. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking that this week, like we were saying about doing wings and stuff, like my mind is now so excited about us going out for food because I'm starting a new job tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's like, however hard my new job is and however scared I am of going, because I'm not going to lie to you, I'm so nervous about stuff like this, like starting new jobs, meeting new people. Like I'm petrified of tomorrow. I'm going to be sitting there tonight like absolutely scared shitless.
Which surprises me, because you're quite good at like in terms of like talking to new people.
You think?
I think
I'm terrible.
I mean, I suppose it's different for me because I've had, England's had another wicket of cricket.
You're watching the cricket?
I've got it on.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is where his attention is.
But I suppose it's different for me because I've had more jobs than hot dinners. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've had, especially when I sort of left Asda, I sort of had like 3 jobs in like 3 years. I suppose it's a bit different. Like, you don't. I know you said before, like job interviews.
Job interviews nearly have panic.
Yeah, and again, that's weird, isn't it? Because that doesn't
bother you. Yeah, I remember you saying
it just doesn't. I just think because I just go in there and just do what I'm good at, just talk shit. But going back to where, so you said a job. One thing that I can't be careful what I say. I've done is just if I've had a shit day, just start applying for stupid stuff, like just for anything and everything, and then when you get a phone call, you're like, you applied for this job, and you're like, yeah, I did, but do you know what? Like, I don't actually. You know what you say that to when you come in for an interview. I'll get back to you, and then just like block the number. And I think like the amount of times that I've done that, you know, pissed off the other week, and you look at it and apply for like 50 jobs in an afternoon. You look at it and you think, like, I don't want to do like.
I don't want to be a maid.
Yeah.
One don't apply to be a maid.
I keep saying I'm going to start an OnlyFans. I think it's the way forward. Like
I don't blame anyone that does that.
But
fair play.
But yeah, like even that is just almost chasing that next thing. Do you know what I mean?
And thinking the grass is greener.
Yeah.
Like, I'll sod this. I'll go to another job.
Yeah, and you know, as much as I don't always enjoy my job, like there are worse jobs out there. There are worse jobs out there.
100%.
You know, and it is, well, you know, I think part of it is almost maybe being a bit too comfortable, just going through the motions.
Yeah.
I think I almost chase that. I almost like the excitement of a new job. Do you know what I mean? The learning it, and then, but within, I suppose if you can do that, you'd be moving jobs every 6 weeks because.
Yeah.
I think every job's no matter what you're doing, every job's mundane, isn't it?
That's the thing as well, isn't it? You always want that. I mean, obviously, money is a great motivator if you need more money and stuff. But other than that, like unless you're doing something you really are passionate about, they do say like that phrase, what is it? If you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. But outside of that, like you're never going to be satisfied in your job because it's work.
Well, I mean, hopefully this takes off and we can be full time.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, if we were doing that, I could do this for a living once a week.
Yeah, you know, that'd be nice. Any companies want to come and sponsor us as well for some more equipment,
give us some money.
Shameless little plug there. But yeah, like I said, I think even like from that side of things, you know, I suppose I call it like an addictive personality, where I know other people who are quite comfortably enjoy their own company and actually, just happy just going through life. And I admire people like that. You know, I've got people, you know, I could not, it might be different, or it will be different when the baby comes, but I can't sit in Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday. I just can't do it. Whereas I've got other mates who will go to me, you're always out doing something. And it's just... Yeah, and they're quite happy just to do that. And that's fair play to them. Like, we're just different in that terms of things.
See, I think I'll end up being more... Now I've got a job at weekends off, I think I'll end up being like you, because I'm not going to be doing anything during the week. I think I'm going to be ramming my weekends now. Yeah,
and even, like I say, like I've stopped playing football, but, like, you know, the weekends that I've not worked, I've gone to watch, which is... great. I said to you last week, I didn't realise, or didn't think I missed it as much as I thought I would. I think being around it yesterday was part of it.
Made you miss it.
I do miss it. It's just, it's hard, isn't it? I mean, I don't miss it. It was cold. I don't like being cold, but I mean, being around everyone and seeing everyone, I thought, maybe I do miss this as much as I thought. But again, it's not even the football side of it. It's just the being around people. That side of thing. I think that's maybe why I struggle in my job sometimes, because sometimes I can be on my own for like 8 hours, and again, for a man who doesn't like his own company, that's probably not the best either.
Do you think as well sometimes like change can trigger yours off?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So I was just thinking, like you're saying, obviously even just stopping football could be such a big change for you, why it could have sparked your anxiety quite bad, because it's like something again that was like a habit almost for you and like a routine, and it's suddenly gone. And
even stuff like we have argued all the time, like being on time. So like if I say like I'm going to be somewhere at 4:00 and then the plans change and it's 4:30, that just sends me off on a like.
No, I get you.
You know, and even like waiting to go out, like I hate sitting there and then waiting to go out. Like I'd rather it be like go and go straight away. Do you know what? Like,
no, I get that. I think as well, it's like for me, it's like the excitement of wanting to be there. Yeah, so you're like I finished dinner and then like 2.5 hours till I go out. Oh God, I just want to be there.
Yeah.
Thinking again that this magic going out is going to change everything and make me really happy. Yeah.
So I think, you know, we touched on it last week about one of the last time, like you just went out for a walk. So I went and took the dogs out yesterday and actually went somewhere different with them. And yeah, for that half an hour, 40 minutes, I sort of felt quite zen and quite relaxed. And then I got back and then it was well, what we're going to do now, because Joe was out doing whatever, and we're going to sit down and just chill out. No, let's go and watch the football. And even like last night, like nearly came to see you. I was almost like, right, I'm going to go out, and then tomorrow morning I'm going to get up and do this, and then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and then it's Monday again. And already in my head, I know that Monday after work I play football. Wednesday we're going to go out. Friday we're doing this. Saturday I've got a party, and then it's boom, another week down. And it's just that
constantly moving, so you don't have to sit still with your own thoughts. Yeah.
Which is
I do get it. Yeah, it's horrible. It's. I think it's just so hard sometimes just sit with your own thoughts. Because I say like I think you've even said as well, like I'm somebody who enjoys my own company. It's like I do, but I have to also be doing stuff. Like I sometimes really struggle to be on my own, because even if you're out on a walk, like you said before, like you got music, or you're really intentively listening to like I don't know what's going on, the wind and the birds, and you always have to have something in your senses.
But even when I take 9 to 10 when I take the dogs for a walk, I will end up ringing someone even then, because it's just, if I listen to a podcast, Friends of Mine podcast, on Spotify and Podbean, or listen to a podcast, I'm not really listening to it, if that makes sense. So I'll ring Neil, or I'll ring Liam, or I'll ring whoever else, just to, even then on that, and Jay would say, like, just take half an hour to yourself. But do
you know what I think you should do? I think you should go on one of these retreats where you don't have a phone, TV or anything, just a book and nature, just you.
Yeah.
I think you never know, man.
Well, maybe, yeah.
It'll probably be agonising though. I bet it'll be, like, it would for me, like, I mean, I suppose you could argue I did similar when I went away on my own, but I didn't, because I had my phone, I had TV, but like just go somewhere like a hut somewhere.
Yeah.
I bet it'll be agonising at first, and then
not sure Joe would be impressed with that now.
No, maybe wait.
Pregnant and I disappear.
Maybe wait 10-15 years.
Well, I'm off. If you go into labour, send a pigeon, and I'll pick
maybe
it
wait
up.
a little while.
But no, I definitely like. I think like, I put a lot of the like it down to social media. Like that's another thing as well, where even like WhatsApp, like I've probably fixed, like, I just need to delete WhatsApp, because the amount of group chats that you're in, and people it's very invasive as well, isn't it? Because like people with it can see when you were last online and see whether you've read their message. But I'm also the worst at it, because I'll message someone, and for example, Joe's got it, so you can't see whether she's read it or not, and I'm like, are you ignoring me or not? Do you know?
Yeah.
And it's mad. Whereas if you send a text message, like,
do you ever find yourself like looking at WhatsApp just to see if you've like missed a message? Like, I hate myself when I do that. I just think, you sad git. Like, I'll literally be like, oh, maybe I have had a notification come through and I didn't see it. Let's see if anyone wants to talk to me. Oh no, they don't. Everyone must hate me.
And even I do it. I've messaged someone, I will look at it and go, bastard's been online and he's not replied to me. Mad as well. Like, went back to Nokia 3310, mate. I used to snakes.
Honestly, I was thinking of doing that. I know a friend who did that, actually. I'm not quite sure how long they did it for, but they like, I think they still had the smartphone, but brought like another cheap phone, just so when they were like out the house, they'd just have the cheap phones. They weren't constantly like on their phone or whatever. Or I might have got that vice versa, but
I don't think it's sad as well. Like, how many times, and I'm guilty for it, we all go out for a meal as a group of friends, and you look, and all of us will be sat there.
Yeah, that's something I'm really trying not to do.
And I think that we just need to take the time to be with the person.
Yeah.
And even I go, one of the things that like a pet hater does, we'll be watching a film and she'll be on TikTok. Like, just watch the film, enjoy the moment. And I'm guilty for it. So enjoy the moment.
I'll do it as well.
Like watching the football or watching whatever else, and I'll be scrolling through, not actually watching it, and then I wonder why I can't work out what's happened. It
just grabs our attention, doesn't it? It's like what we were saying before, it's just like you're not in the moment when you're doing that. You're just, your mind's somewhere else. Every time you're on your phone, your mind's somewhere else. It's either in like a future conversation with somebody or a past conversation, or on TikTok, just scrolling.
I think one thing I need to do is learn to Learn to live for the moment, because the moment will be gone before you realise it.
Telling you, man, I think next podcast we should do a little guided meditation.
Yeah.
For you and obviously the people that listen to it. Or we'll do it right at the end so they can be like, sod this, turn it off. Yeah, but then they got the choice.
Well,
you know?
true.
They don't have to try and skip it and find where to.
I know you put something on the Instagram before, but if anybody has got anything they want to say and want to ask, and it's all anonymous unless you want us to read your name out, then it's all anonymous. Send it, because and if people want to come on, we need to buy another microphone, I suppose, before you have people on.
We might be able to do it. We should be able to do it.
But I know that Aaron wants to come on, so we will try and arrange a date for him to come on.
Yeah.
He's quite keen to do it, so get him on. But anyone else wants to come on as well, let us know, and we'll arrange a date.
Yeah, literally just send in a message. You can say whether you want your name read out. It can be a question, it can be a story, it could be anything. Just
I think
give us some more material.
If people interact as well, it might be their way of expressing what they're going through.
Yeah, definitely. And like hearing their story being put out there, even if they're not there to discuss it, want to remain anonymous, it still can be quite cathartic, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that might be a good place to leave it.
Yeah.
That's absolutely flew by again. So thank you very much for listening. I'll stick to you.
We've got an intruder.
Oh, have we?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll definitely better go then. Let's sort them out.
All right.
Right, good speaking to you again.
Bye.
See you in a bit.